Welcome back. This is the Getting Started with PAC Part 5 FOC GUI overview. The goal of this video is to show you what the PAC FOC GUI is, how it talks to the firmware, and where the key settings live. Previously, we powered the EVK, installed the firmware package and tools, then we built and flashed the FOC firmware to the board. Now we're going to open the FOC GUI, do a quick tour of the interface, and then establish a UART connection to the PAC device. Okay, let's open the GUI. So inside your FOC firmware folder, navigate to Resources. Here you'll find the PAC FOC GUI.exe. This will launch the PAC FOC GUI application. A quick big picture. The PAC FOC firmware includes a UART-based GUI interface. This GUI is basically your control panel. It lets you command the motor, read back live variables, and tune parameters in real time without constantly having to rebuild the firmware. Think of the workflow like this. First, you will configure your motor and system limits. Next, you will write those parameters to the target. Then you will enable the motor and verify motion. And lastly, you will fine-tune in small steps while watching the feedback. Across the top, you'll see multiple tabs. We will keep this brief for now. The config tab is where you enter motor parameters and system limits. And the tuning tab is where you adjust the control behavior once the motor is spinning. And the features tab is where optional functionality is enabled. For this video, we're going to stay focused on the config tab. Now let's walk through the main blocks on the config tab. First is the status display. This will indicate whether you're in open loop or closed loop. It will also display if the system has encountered a fault. It also shows live runtime values like your speed reference and targeted speed, both in electrical hertz and RPM, as well as your input DC bus voltage and your commutation mode. Next is the comp status. This shows you your UART communication status. You can confirm if the target is responding based on this. Then you have your switching frequency and current sensing. This is where you configure your switching and control frequency settings and also confirm what current sensing configuration the firmware is using. Next is the application config section. This block defines your system level operating limits. It bounds operation and protects the hardware. For example, you'll set a maximum motor speed, a maximum current, and things like an overcurrent limit that act as a hardware fault threshold. Quick note on units in this environment. Speed values are shown in electrical hertz, and when you see current limits in the GUI, those are typically peak current values, not RMS. Next is the motor parameters. This is where you enter your motor electrical constants, things like your winding inductance per phase values and your winding resistance per phase, as well as the number of pole pairs and the nominal speed, again shown in electrical hertz. Finally, your operation selection. This is your runtime control panel. You can start and stop the motor by clicking on this motor enable, as well as change directions using this checkbox. You can also enter your closed loop speed and your closed loop current targets, depending on what mode you're using. Okay, so these are the key blocks I want you to recognize for now. Later in the series, we'll come back and go deeper into the tuning tab and features tab. But for now, the next step is connecting the GUI to the PAC device. Now let's establish the UART communication. In the FOC GUI, go to the config tab on the top left. Click on COM port config. This will open the UART configuration window. Here, you're going to click detect, but before that, make sure your EVK is powered. The GUI will then scan for the available COM ports. Go ahead and select the COM port that corresponds to your board. For me, I'm using COM6. You should see the COM status and target status. The target status will show you the detected firmware version running on the PAC device. After you see that, go ahead and click Write. If you're having detection issues, confirm that the EVK is powered and that it's actually flashed with the FOC firmware. You can also check if you selected the correct COM port. It is common to have multiple COM ports on a PC. And one specific note on Windows 11 systems, you may need the FT232R USB UART driver for UART communication to work properly. But once you see the COM status and the firmware version at the bottom here, as well as this polling enabled and write-on change enabled. If you don't see these two, you can go to the top, click on Tools, and make sure that these are always checked. Okay, so in the next video, we'll use the GUI to start interacting with the FOC firmware and prepare you for your first motor bring up.